with everything we do, it's not just a single discipline problem. It just really isn't. And JMU gives you not just the knowledge base, to acknowledge that. I mean, just even recognizing that is important. Then assembling the structure of, okay, where are these problems? What are the right questions to ask, and how do we get there? And then having the social aptitude to form the team and get the cooperation and the buy-in to help collectively solve the problem. It's very special and very unique experience.
Welcome to Being the Change, the official podcast of James Madison University, brought to you by Madison Magazine. Each episode brings to you stories of how members of the JMU community combine intellect with action to live lives of purpose and meaning. That's Being the Change.
What is up, JMU? Welcome to Being the Change. This is Andy Perrine. I'm here today with what I hope to be a very interesting episode in what is an ongoing conversation about the evolution of James Madison University. With me is alumnus Peter Denbigh. He's an 02 ISAT alum. Peter is self-described as a catalyst, as an instigator. We're going to get into a lot of his many different projects, and one of them very specifically, which is a very exciting new project coming to Harrisonburg in the fall. And also with us is Dr. Anthony Tongen, who is the Vice President of the new Division of Research, Economic Development, and Innovation, which is REDI for short, which I think is so appropriate for JMU, something that describes a lot of people I know at JMU. They're always ready. Ready for fun, ready to work, ready to dig in. So I think it's an appropriate acronym. So, Dr.
And I love
Tongen,
using it for dad jokes as well. Yes.
And you've got a good bunch of kids too. So dad jokes are frequent in your house.
They come naturally, yes.
Right. Well, welcome to you, Dr. Tongen, and to you, Peter.
Andy, thanks for having me.
It's really our pleasure at Being the Change. So let's begin. First of all, Peter, you were in the vanguard of ISAT alumni as an 02 alumnus. We're celebrating ISAT's 30th anniversary this year. It launched in 94, so the first graduates were coming out in 98, and you were in 02, so you're among the vanguard, which I think is highly appropriate for this conversation because you're now in the phase of your career where things are really, really happening, and including this incredibly interesting new project in Harrisonburg, which I want you to describe. But first, I think we'd all love to hear how you really got cooking with your first venture, your first really big venture, which was a very successful game, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the game?
Sure. So, I came to JMU from the middle of West Virginia and just fell in love with the ISAT program due to its multidisciplinary approach to problem solving. And I'm a firm believer that in business, your success in business is directly correlated to how quickly and effectively you can solve problems. And so ISAT prepared me, and JMU prepared me very well for that. And so I've had been exploring and been in business since my senior year at JMU. That's when I started my first company. It was called Wild Wires, and we did wiring and tech support. At that time, it was pre-Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi was just getting going, so I don't know if many of the students today can imagine a world without Wi-Fi, but it was rough, let me tell you. It was hard.
Well, and I remember you when you were a student. That's how old I am.
Oh, wow. And so through that experience, which went well but had challenges, various companies along that path, rarely having an official job, I collected a pretty wide berth of knowledge and on business and logistics and whatnot, and had always been a student of personal growth and business and how to do better and how to grow business. And so we were watching a movie called The Boss with Melissa McCarthy. And there's a scene early on in that movie where she's getting her teeth whitened with a device. The technical term is called a cheek retractor in dental terms. She has it in her mouth. It's stretching her cheeks apart. And if you could see me, I'm making these really funny faces to everybody. And she's getting her teeth whitened, and she's trying to talk and issue orders across the office. And instead of coming out clearly enunciated, it's coming out, and maybe I have a weird sense of humor, but I thought it was very funny. So that was part one. Part two is I was studying how an idea is kind of worthless without really good execution and executing quickly and getting it out there. There are tons of ideas in the world, but something that I've learned in no small part, thanks to JMU and ISAT, is don't just have an idea, do something with it. And so I said, man, that's an interesting thing. You could probably turn that into a game. And by that time, I'd had one or two failed Kickstarter campaigns. So if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, sure, you can kind of test ideas, right. And if the world loves them, they get funded, you do it. And if the world says not yet, then you don't do it. So it's kind of a low repercussion way of testing ideas. I said, well, I wonder if I could, how quickly could I get an idea of putting a game together that used this ridiculous concept and get it live on Kickstarter.
A ridiculous concept of not being able to understand what
what you're saying.
Right.
No way, no game company, no Hasbro or Mattel would have said, oh, let's produce a game where you put a device in your mouth and you drool. And for the record, you do not share game pieces. But
listeners at home are relieved to hear this.
Relieved to hear that. And so in the matter of about 2 weeks, I had found some dental cheek retractors on eBay. I'd converted a USPS flat rate shipping box to a red game box because I had some vinyl lying around, come up with a couple of sample phrases from a business card company to make it look professional. And it was just barely enough to be able to put it on Kickstarter and say, hey, I have an idea. And from that, the game Watch Ya Mouth was born.
Watch Your Mouth.
Watch Your Mouth. And through a lot of good timing, good luck, and a heck of a lot of problem solving, it went viral and it took off, and we built a team and we managed to keep up with the demand. And so
you had manufacturing offshore, didn't you? Yeah.
We did. Yeah. We had 7 factories offshore that we had to spin up in the matter of weeks. 5 factories. We visited 7. And so this launched, it started shipping Father's Day 2016. And by the end of the year, it was the 3rd best-selling game of all games in the country. And so to be able to pull together that type of logistical challenge and nightmare took a lot of long nights and a lot of hard teamwork and a lot of fun and a lot of fear. But it made it, and it was really, really exciting. And it afforded some amazing opportunities for us when it came to learning and networking and notoriety and, just seeing the world through a different lens.
Well, and I love how you connect it to the particular bent of the ISAT curriculum, which is problem solving. And, I'm the university's marketing guy, so I would be remiss in not making note that being the change we describe as combining intellect and action,
nice.
Which is exactly what you did to create something that was a change agent.
Sure.
Wasn't it named like the Game of the Year in Australia?
It was. It did win the Australian Toy Association Game of the Year. Our distribution partner in Australia gets more credit for that than we do because they're the one that entered it. But yeah, it was, and it's, we've been places as far as the Galapagos Islands, and people say, "Oh, I've seen that game."
That's amazing.
Like, what? That's crazy. So it is fun. We've from a feel-good perspective, we've brought joy and laughter to tens of millions of people around the world with this silly concept. And it's good because a lot of people have copied it as well.
Right.
And so we've seen different versions of it out there, which we have mixed emotions about, but in the end, it's a matter of we made a lot of people laugh, and that's pretty cool.
Well, let's fast forward to the present.
Sure.
Along the way, you're a catalyst who's done many other things. Among them, you created and opened the Stanton Innovation Hub, which has been a huge success. I've toured it with you, in fact, and it was bustling. And now, fast forwarding to the present and in our own community, we're looking at the Harrisonburg Innovation Hub coming this fall, which is super exciting. And this is why we wanted to have Anthony Tongen with us too, to put this into a larger context. But before we do, give us a little bit of background into what the Harrisonburg Innovation Hub is going to be like and why you think the time is now.
Yeah, absolutely. So building on the game story, I probably glossed over the fact that there have been a lot of challenges along the way getting to that point, and business is hard. I have crashed and burned several times through that journey. I'm glad I can laugh about that now, because at the time it's kind of painful, when things aren't going great and you're trying to figure it out.
But it's something that we like to impress upon students is that, failure is basically a directional, not a stop sign.
Yeah, you have to fail forward, right?
Right.
And so I had an interest in commercial real estate. And I've always had an interest in lifting up other people that are trying to innovate and start projects. And so I looked around, I said, man, there are a lot of groups and a lot of people all trying to do wonderful things for startups. There are a lot of people trying to start, but it's also not just startups. It's also what I call innovators, people that are pushing the envelope in whatever industry they're in, whether it be a single person operation or a branch office of something or a headquarters of something. And I said, man, what would it be like if we could get all these people under one roof and create an environment that lessened those lows and accelerated those highs? And out of that was born our mission of reducing barriers to innovation. And so that's really why these projects exist, is I want, and our team wants to reduce barriers to innovation. Reducing barriers can have a variety of definitions. Innovation can have a variety of definitions, and I think that's part of the beauty of it. And so that's what we've created. I mean, we have 30,000 square feet of space in a town of 25,000 people. So we technically have a square foot for every citizen of Stanton. And it was nearly full when it opened in the middle of the pandemic of October 2020. And I would not recommend trying to open a co-working space in the middle of a pandemic. And just a few months later, we were full, and we've been very blessed and lucky to be full since that time. And so despite the challenges of bringing that renovation project to life, I wanted to get back to Harrisonburg. I have a real soft spot for Harrisonburg. I love Harrisonburg. I love JMU. And Harrisonburg is such a vibrant and wonderful and growing community that we started looking for an opportunity in Harrisonburg. And when we found the building that we're in and started talking about the partnerships that we could create, it all started coming together. And we cannot wait to open those doors and see what sort of ecosystem develops here and community. And, it's my dream that a unicorn is born out of one of these projects, and a unicorn being a company whose valuation is $1 billion or more. And so, man, if we can hit that, great. And if quote unquote all we do is support our startups and innovators 150 at a time, that's going to be an incredible success.
Well, and it's a really interesting space too. You're rehabilitating the old Wetzel Seed Company building, which is right downtown. So it's near all the restaurants and all the bars. So
I get so excited about it, Andy, that I tend to forget to talk about what it actually is too. Because I live and breathe it every day.
People something to visualize.
Sure. So imagine the easier way to explain it for those that know what a co-working space is, it's a co-working space on steroids. So you walk into a building that was built over 100 years ago, formerly a warehouse, and it has this incredible design that is a juxtaposition of new and old. You have exposed brick and exposed timbers next to modern materials and modern lighting. And within these walls, you have places where you can come work. And when you walk in, it looks good, it sounds good, it smells good. You open your laptop and you get to work. You don't have to worry if the electricity's paid or the internet's fast. We have infinite coffee because a lot of business gets done around coffee. And after hours, we'll have other libations that a lot of business gets done around. And so you have open spaces where you can work, you have private offices where you can work, you have anchor spaces if it's a larger organization, you have shared conference rooms, we have a podcasting studio, we have focus rooms, we have everything, we have mail, we have a mail room with copiers and mail, UPS pickup and drop off, and just all those little details that our thinkers and our starters and our innovators, I don't want them having to worry about that, because that is not the highest and best use of their time.
Right.
They have a unique ability, and we want to create an environment where that unique ability thrives, and they get to exist with other people of the same mindset. And it's a surprisingly non-competitive environment. You walk down a hall and it might be a CPA across from a nonprofit, across from a tech company, across from a copywriter, across from a consultant, et cetera. And these people get together, and there's not this jockeying for position as far as, well, is so-and-so going to get promoted and this sort of thing. No, it's like we're all growing together and leveling up together. And so the camaraderie and the ecosystem and the community that forms there is really magical.
And fascinating hall friction.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We intentionally designed the building for collision points.
Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you for setting.
And I could obviously talk for a long time about that. And I know this is a short podcast, so edit all this out as much as you want.
No, this is good stuff. I'd like to turn to Dr. Tongen, because I think Peter represents really the essence of what we are trying to cultivate at the university. But first, since you're a mathematician, I'd like to talk to you about the concept of infinite coffee.
Yes, that's a tricky one, and it sounds really hard to be able to process that.
We need to get AI involved.
Yeah, right. No, but Anthony, I'd love for you to reflect on what Peter's describing, and in the context of what you, as our first vice president of research, economic development, and innovation, see in this, and how it relates to all of the other aspects of our continuing evolution as an institution.
Well, first, I'd be remiss not to say it always makes me proud as a faculty member to see students like Peter and just hear their stories, and just think back to that calculus course he might have taken from a mathematician like myself, and that maybe that helped in some ways the problem-solving
strategy
that is so necessary as we think about these skill sets that he described. And
how did you do in calculus, Peter?
We don't need to go this. Yeah, let's just skip that one.
Okay.
You asked Bob Colvard how much he had to tutor me in that one.
Okay.
Well, and this is a great, runway to what we're trying to do in research, economic development, and innovation, or REDI. And I'm going to focus a lot on the economic development piece. There's natural connections between research and economic development. There's a lot of these EDA or economic development association grants that are available that JMU can certainly be the lead on and partner with organizations in the Valley. But what we're really trying to do is identify ways that we can support the community. And I think this is a great way. We will be one of what Peter mentioned as an anchor tenant in the Harrisonburg Innovation Hub. We are excited about bringing some of our resources that we have here at JMU to the community that Peter described very well.
Yeah, part of your team is moving in.
That's right. Yeah. And we'll have some physical space there.
Right.
And we will have the Small Business Development Center, have some office hours there. We have our Office of Economic and Community Development. We have the Shenandoah Valley Partnership, Shenandoah Valley Tech Council, and many more that are not coming up right now off the top of my head. But I think it's going to be a great space where we can also have students come and see what it's like. When we think about economic development, we're really looking at three different pieces, and we're following a platform that's pretty common in this economic development space. The first is talent, and that a lot of times around the university is the students, but also the amazing faculty and expertise that we have there. And one example of that in REDI, we are a part of the VTOP program here in the in Virginia, and that is the Virginia Talent Plus Opportunity Partnership Program. And we had 16 new internship placements in the region with small companies through that, where there was a matching grant to help with the stipends for the students.
That's great.
And really making that connection with the local companies. It isn't just all about the internships in Northern Virginia, Richmond, et cetera. There are also great corporations here in the Valley, and how do we best support them and really get the talent that we have or bringing in here, get them connected early.
Right.
The second piece of that is innovation, and I think Peter talked a little bit about that, but that also the heart of innovation is research, or that problem solving that you highlighted so well, Peter. And we're really trying to think through how we do that well, how we bring to bear expertise and really help these entrepreneurs in ways that maybe they weren't even ready, and I say
Nice,
ready there not
nice
as a
plug.
pun.
There was. There's that dad joke almost.
But whether they're ready to partner with us and maybe move things to the next level, and we have expertise across the board as a great liberal arts school, and so how we do that. And then the third leg of our stool is place. What is unique about Harrisonburg? And there is something special about this place. I hear, as I talk with so many alumni, how they'd love to be back here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's an amazing opportunity for companies in the area to keep them here. And how do we go about being a part of that ecosystem and supporting that ecosystem that is helping the talent, innovation, place, infrastructure?
Well, you know, Anthony, right there in that description of the three-legged stool, liberal arts. And there's a lot of curiosity in the community about JMU's origins as, first as a teacher school, but then a really great liberal arts school. Then once we made the leap across 81 to build ISAT, which yielded alumni like Peter, was the quickenings of our becoming a research institution. But we're really, I think, most differentiated by the fact that we're not going to try to become a UVA or a Virginia Tech. We're going to stay focused on a strong liberal arts core, but then add research, professional opportunities in a way that kind of puts us in a niche that other schools aren't occupying.
Yeah, I think you couldn't have teed it up any better. As I think of one of JMU's strengths in that research space, it's the interdisciplinary research.
Right.
One of the things we do in our something called X Labs, which is in REDI, is getting together teams of faculty with different expertise and bringing students as well with that different expertise and solving these grand problems or grand challenges and bringing that unique perspective. I often did this as a faculty member, and I brought my mathematical lens to biological problems, and I would always see things slightly differently.
Right.
And there were reasons for that. There were some good things or some bad things, but let's focus on the good things. And it often brought a different perspective, and we'd go in different directions that were novel, they were unique, and we were making a difference and advancing knowledge in a way that we wouldn't have done if we were just in our silos. And I think that's something JMU faculty do really well, and that's what we're teaching our students to do as well. And I think that's why it ties in so well with what's happening in the HIH.
Yeah, I was going to add an outside perspective to that, Andy. What I love about my education here, and my education and experience, so not just the academic piece of the education, but even the social piece of the education, is the multidisciplinary approach. And the way I look at the trajectory of JMU is it's not changing the direction of JMU, it's adding fuel to the fire. It's amping up the rocket. And I think so much of what I've done, I attribute to the ISAT undergrad, the MBA grad experience at JMU. When with everything we do, it's not just a single discipline problem.
Right.
It just really isn't. And JMU gives you not just the knowledge base, to acknowledge that. I mean, just even recognizing that is important. Then assembling the structure of, okay, where are these problems? What are the right questions to ask, and how do we get there? And then having the social aptitude to form the team and get the cooperation and the buy-in to help collectively solve the problem. It's very special and very unique experience.
When you have engineers working with nurses and media arts and design students, and mashing all that together, it opens their mind in a way that they could not foresee, because they think they're always going to be just working with engineers or other nurses in their discipline.
And what fun. I'm really excited to have JMU as a part of this innovation hub in Harrisonburg. And I think from two distinct but important perspectives. One, kind of what I would call the micro energy of having the students and the teams and the administration and the faculty in the building just on a daily basis.
Right.
And these students getting to walk around and getting a glimpse of what their future might look like, or something that positively affects their future. They just get a perspective of, oh, I could do that. Yeah, okay, I see where I can go. Give me a direction and I'll go for it. And then from a macro energy perspective, just as Anthony was talking about, the grant programs, the being a part of JMU's longer term vision is a tremendous honor, and hopefully will be a tremendous asset to JMU by having a multi-use space like this, where Gillum Center can come in and have a pitch night competition or a pitch practice, and some of our members will come and offer feedback, and it's just this awesome melting pot of what these students are trying to learn with the real world piece of it. And I'm just very excited. I'm proud of JMU for taking that step and thinking differently as well, to be a part of something like this, and excited for how hopefully we can be part of that bridge to the community and tighten the connection between the university and the community.
And it might also be a great way. I mean, if you think of yourself when you're graduating, would you have stuck around the Harrisonburg area if there had been something like this in place, and you could see yourself doing what you wanted to do, but being in this place? Because there's something special about the Valley. Granted, we're all biased, but it's still something special about the Valley. And I think the more that we could provide opportunities for our students to really keep that talent here, this is, I think, a great example of that.
One of my many dreams with this space is that we can be a place that larger employers in Northern Virginia and Richmond and elsewhere in the country and world can come get a stake in the ground, and they can come test something with low repercussions. You can say, well, you know what, we do think the Shenandoah Valley would be a great place. Here's a way that we can have a month-to-month commitment in a private office to set up a small team, test something, and I think it's going to go well for them. And I think they're going to want to then outgrow the Innovation Hub and expand to the area around us. And hopefully we can be a little bit of a catalyst for that as well.
Well, now that we're post-pandemic and workplace and location are now sort of disassembled, people are going to realize, wow, what a wonderful quality of life they have there in the Valley. Well, Dr. Anthony Tongen and Peter Denbigh, it's been such a great pleasure to chat with you on Being the Change this afternoon. I hope you'd be open to coming back after things are going, and we can check in and hear some more of the great things that are happening, not only with the Harrisonburg Innovation Hub, but with REDI and the university's continued evolution and remarkable trajectory. And all of you out there in the listening land of Being the Change, don't forget that if you've got an idea for the podcast, or if you've got some comments, or if you just want to give a shout out to somebody, you can reach us at beingthechange@jmu.edu, and we'll see you next time. Since recording this episode, construction of the Harrisonburg Innovation Hub has progressed on schedule, and it will officially open on December 2nd. Check harrisonburghub.com for more.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next time to hear another story of how members of the James Madison University community are being the change. Dive deeper and consume countless other stories at jmu.edu/Madison Magazine. Go Dukes!
The Being the Change podcast was conceived by Jim Heffernan, editor of Madison Magazine, and me, Andy Perrine, head of JMU Marketing. Thanks to Jenna Polk and the team at Rose Library Studios, where the show is recorded by Steve Adderton, the guy who also captures those amazing campus drone shots you see on Instagram. Original music and episode production by Neil Perrine. All of us involved in creating Being the Change are JMU alumni, and we bleed purple. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.